Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World figure to take a look at, as we have the newest version of the Fierce Force Dilophosaurus. And I actually must say I really like this color scheme. It was one of those color schemes where when I initially had seen it, I was like, it looks okay. But here in hand, I think it might be one of the most appealing Dilophosaurus that Mattel has released so far as the coloration goes. It's like a really cool light gray with some darker grays coming down from the top of the Dilophosaurus and just a really beautiful red crest and stuff right there to, make the figure a little flashier like you usually find with some really nice coloration on the crests of a Dilophosaurus. But definitely liking what I see so far. As far as the box art goes, you can see it's your standard Dino Escape box art, and then when we spin it around to the back, you can see the image of the Dilophosaurus right there, as well as kind of another area where we can see the Dilophosaurus right here, as well as what the action feature is, as well as an image down here of some of the other figures in the Fierce Force range here for this wave. So let's pop this out of the box and take a look at it. And here is our newest version of the Dilophosaurus. Again, I really like this, and of course the sculpt is fantastic. It's a Mattel sculpt. It's usually a really good thing when you get a Mattel sculpt, because they usually give us a very highly detailed sculpt. Maybe not always the most screen accurate, but I would say that this is fairly screen accurate as far as what a Dilophosaurus looks like in the Jurassic Park franchise. Of course, the paint scheme and paint application is not screen accurate. It's not what we saw in the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park, but again, really nice looking as far as a repaint goes. I definitely, again, think it's one of the nicest that Mattel has released so far. But to truly tell just how nice it is, we need to go ahead and take a closer look, so let's do that right now. So starting here at the head sculpt, of course the head sculpt is beautifully done as far as a detailing standpoint goes, but you can see, again, the really nice gray coloration of the Dilophosaurus, as well as the speckling that we usually find on Mattel figures, but I love the fact that the speckling has been included on the face. You don't always see speckling on the face of, Mattel figures. You often find it throughout the course of the body, but not usually so much on the face, but you can see it quite nicely on the face of this Dilophosaurus, and I think that meshes in quite nicely with the overall light gray body color that you see on the majority of the face of the figure. You also have a nice kind of an off-white here for the lower jaw, and a red crest as per usual. Again, detail everywhere looks to be really well done. Very nice vibrant scale detail throughout the face of the Dilophosaurus. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up here. The eye is painted with a yellow, given a nice black pupil, which again is really awesome to have the black pupil returning, because they usually like to give us just random coloration for the pupils, but we definitely have very nicely painted eyes on this one on both sides, which is a huge plus. As you lead back into the frill of our Dilophosaurus, you can see that it's pretty much your standard as far as what the frill of a Dilophosaurus for a Mattel figure looks like. Really nicely sculpted, but you can see that as far as the coloration goes on this one, we have kind of like a pretty bright white, as well as some nice red kind of like lines and squiggles and designs and stuff throughout. And I feel like that was a really nice choice on the part of Mattel, because I really think that that coloration plays off beautifully from the lighter coloration that we see elsewhere on the frill, even when it comes to the light gray and the really bright white. It definitely looks beautiful as far as that goes. And we do have some of those speckles and stuff showing up here as well, which appear to be a nice kind of either a dark blue or a black speckling. I think it's a dark bluish speckling, and you can see that actually on the back of the frill as well. So if we bring the frill out to take a closer look here at the back, you can see again that the detail, of course, is fantastic, but we have those speckles throughout the entire rear side of the frill. And it looks beautiful over here as well. You could see again some very nice coloration included, just super nice looking overall, very appealing as far as the tones of color, I would say, used on this Dilophosaurus. Same deal back here. As we lead back into the neck, we have those speckles picking up yet again, but as we reach back here into just around the shoulder area a little bit before, you start to see this nice dark gray pick up, and that dark gray kind of like spots and stripes all over the place here on the side, but there's like a big clump of it up here on the top. Unfortunately, it does end prior to the tail, which is something that Mattel has been, going back to previously with the more recent Mattel figures. It seemed like we were getting a little more paint application out onto the tail, but they are here to reassure us that that was not something they were going to continue to follow, as we have had the last few figures with, minor paint out onto the tail, or minor paint in general with the body. But you can see how beautiful the skin texture looks here on the side and the stomach region. You can pick out the rib cage a little bit right there. Of course, as we move down into the arms, we don't have any type of like nail paint on the hands or anything like that, but we do have, again, some more of those speckles, and you can really see on the hand right here, especially right here, that it's definitely bluish speckling right there. As you move back here into the leg, you can see that the leg is really quite overloaded with those speckles. As we move down into the foot, though, you can see that, again, there is no nail paint for the toenails. Seems to be just a reoccurring thing with Mattel. I just hope that at some point they're going to start to include more nail paint, but honestly, I wouldn't hold my breath because odds are I will probably pass out. But as we move back up here into the tail, again, you can see that that dark gray kind of just abruptly transitions back to the light gray, and then as we lead out the length of the tail, although the sculpt looks really nice and we have a really nice curve to the tail, there is no paint application out here onto the tail at all aside from those speckles. And it's the same deal that you're going to see over here, again, being an articulated figure. You don't see too much difference on this side compared to the previous side, but you can see that the legs are in a different position as far as like the base area that the legs should be set in. But again, absolutely gorgeous sculpt and some pretty darn nice looking paint application. I just wish there was more to it because, again, we are severely lacking when it comes to like any coloration here on the underside. Like this nice white would have been nice to see follow along the underside of the throat and the underside of the stomach and stuff, but instead we only get it in the lower jaw, and then it just is completely gone right here. And this darker gray would have been nice to see this run out onto the tail. Also gone. We do have the speckles and stuff throughout, which does help to give it a little bit more of an appealing look, but definitely needed more color variation. But even without it, I still feel like it's probably one of the nicest Mattel Dilophosaurus figures that we've had yet. And there is the Jurassic Facts app code if you would like to add it to your collection. But again, definitely a beautiful Mattel Dilophosaurus. Even if it does need more paint, I still really quite like it. And then as far as the action feature for our Dilophosaurus goes, we have to push the tail up, and that of course extends the frill and opens the mouth. We have seen this before. I felt like it was actually going, okay, so this one actually stays. I don't know if this is how they all are, but when I push the button up on this, it actually stays open, and that's really cool because I don't think it stayed open prior on any other Dilophosaurus figures like this. I could be wrong, maybe I just don't recall, but that is really cool. And again, it may just be something that's like kind of maybe a like malfunction in the mechanism, or maybe it's supposed to be like this. I don't know, but I hope it's supposed to be like this because I love the fact that you can open the mouth and keep it this way. Really cool idea on the part of Mattel if that were the idea behind it, although now it almost doesn't seem like it wants to close. Oh, there we go. I also love the kind of crouching position for the Dilophosaurus. I really, really like that positioning, almost making it look kind of sneaky or like it's about to leap into action and take a bite of somebody or a dinosaur or something along those lines. But as far as articulation goes, again, we have the articulated jaw, the articulation in the frill, articulation in the arm, which can go forward and back, also out away from the body. And then we have articulation in the legs, both legs, of course. Doesn't seem like they move too far out from the side, but they do a little bit. And then the articulation in the tail is primarily just for the action features, so you don't really have too much else going on there. But still, pretty nice as far as the articulation goes. As far as a size, for a length, you are looking at about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters, and the highest point is certainly the tail, and you are looking at about 3¼ inches or about 8.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our really cool Dilophosaurus here from Mattel. And you can definitely see that it follows the same size range as we have previously had with pretty much all of the Dilophosaurus outside of the basic version and the Amber Collection version, but still a really nice size. I definitely feel like it's a pretty good size overall as far as what a Jurassic Park style Dilophosaurus should look like in toy form. And it's not anything overly large, nothing too small, pretty much I would say close to a perfect size. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Fierce Force Dilophosaurus is definitely another really nice figure on the part of Mattel. It's of course not the best Dilophosaurus that they've released. That would probably go to the Amber Collection version. But as far as this style, I think it's definitely one of the nicest because I really, really like the paint scheme of this. Of course, the action feature is awesome. It's pretty much the exact type of an action feature you would want from a Jurassic Park style Dilophosaurus. We also have some pretty darn nice articulation, as well as an overall beautiful sculpt. I feel like the sculpt is very nicely done. I love the fact that it kind of stands there with its mouth closed, or you can open the mouth, of course, to have it have that, really fierce look, but I like the appearance of it with its mouth closed, and the sculpt and detail throughout is really vibrant and just an overall gorgeous looking Jurassic Park style Dilophosaurus sculpt. But the paint application is pretty much, the only thing that's really new to the figure, so it is nice to see a really appealing looking paint application on this Dilophosaurus, and with how many Dilophosaurus we've had from Mattel so far, it is nice as well to see the fact that they can still come up with such appealing looking paint schemes, and not even just Dilophosaurus. In general, Mattel, we've had tons and tons of Mattel figures to this point, so it is still really cool and really reassuring, I would say, to know that they are able to come up with really appealing looking paint schemes, and especially ones as appealing as this, because this one, again, like I had said, is probably one of my favorite Mattel Dilophosaurus so far as the overall appearance and paint scheme goes. It's just really, really appealing looking here in hand, and also adds, a nice flashy element to Dilophosaurus that looks really natural, I would say, on the figure overall. So it's not the greatest Mattel figure ever, that's for sure, but it is definitely a really nice one, and probably one of the best looking Dilophosaurus figures that we've had, as well as one of the most fun when it comes to the action feature and stuff like that. Definitely a fan of this figure overall. The only downsides would be I wish there was a little bit more paint application to it like usual, like that white coloration of the lower jaw running to the underside of the dinosaur would have been nice. More of the dark gray there on the top running out onto the tail, and then nail paint would have really sealed the deal for this figure, but even without those things, I still think it's a beautiful version of a Mattel Dilophosaurus. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to Amazon where I purchased mine. Don't know that it's in stock currently, but they do tend to kind of hop in and out of stock every so often. So make sure you check back to Amazon, order yourself this really cool Dilophosaurus, or potentially find it in store very soon. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.